This 1990 Palisades is going to be our next charity donation, but first it needs a complete strip down and rebuild. The condition that it's currently in can best be described as rough.
Make no mistake, this is a special bike, a historic bike, and I know this from personal experience. In 1990, I was a proud owner of one of these, a 1988 Ridgeback 602 SIS. Now in 88, when this came out, if you had a mountain bike of any description, you were the don. If you had one with indexed gear shifting and a Biopace chain set and these powerful brakes and a shark fin, you were the capo di tutti capi. I absolutely thought I was King Ding-a-ling riding around on one of these. So imagine my rage when one of the lads in my village rocked up on one of these, which in every way is just slightly higher spec than the Ridgeback. Remember, we're talking long before these higher spec bikes became even a figment of our wildest imagination. All this XT and XTR Exotica, which you can see elsewhere on my channel, didn't come until a couple of years later. This thing, to my tiny brain, at the age I was in 1990, was just unobtainium. And let's have a look at some of the reasons why. On the Ridgeback, most of the group set was X-Age Trail with a smattering of X-Age Mountain. This Mountain LX was just a level above, made me sick with envy. Quick release hubs, the Ridgeback was nutted. This Mountain LX Biopace had an HP high performance sticker on it. Is it any different to mine, which didn't have that sticker? Almost certainly not, but imagine my tiny brain, picture me seething at the time. Other differences, alloy shifter bodies versus the plastic ones on the Ridgeback, and just these little touches all the way around. Alloy brake canties versus the plastic on the Ridgeback, and so on it goes. Yes, I was very proud of my Ridgeback, but I absolutely coveted one of these. Now in 1990 we were all calling these Marins. It was only 10 years later when I actually found myself going to the birthplace of mountain biking and finding out that it was called Marin. Egg on my face. But of course by then it was too late. Everyone in England was calling these Marins, and most of us still do. So you must forgive me if I lapse between the two during the course of this video. Now let's not dilly-dally, it's time for the investigation and the strip down so that we can get a closer look at this piece of kit. You can see why I'm so excited about it. It's pretty much complete, original, right the way down to the original X-Age brake blocks, which are barely worn. So all the battering that it appears to have taken is more likely to have just been from a rough life of storage in a barn, which, because we know it used to live on a farm. In terms of actual mileage, there's probably not that much on it. In terms of originality, even the original Marin saddle is here, and there's no tears or nicks in it, which is another sign that it's not been badly looked after. This can go. This is a collar for a child seat or trailer. Things like this can all be soaked in vinegar and the rust removed. An original first generation shark fin is a lovely thing to have, so we're going to restore that and keep it. I've tested the chain. There's no stretch or wear on the chain, and that's the original, I think it's a Super Glide or a Hyper Glide. We'll investigate. Things like this dork disc are going to get binned. That will have gone brittle and horrid. Likewise, the reflectors, we'd have taken those off and binned them on day one as kids. The only thing that I can see that isn't totally original is this, which is an Altus front hub, which is a like-for-like but slightly more modern replacement for the original, which would have been Mountain LX. So I can only assume that the front wheel's taken a ding or got lost and been replaced with something that's sufficiently similar that it doesn't offend me too much. And I hope that one of you won't see that as a reason not to spend huge sums of money buying this bike when it finally goes on sale at the Chiltern charity bike shop. But apart from that wheel, it's absolutely all here. So this is going to be a really exciting rebuild. Once again, we have a generous benefactor to thank for the charitable donation of this bike. This one came from another member of my shadowy cartel of wealthy playboy gentleman collectors. In fact, the owner of the immaculate black Kona explosive, which you may have seen the video that I did, the best explosive on YouTube. He, for tax reasons, prefers to stay in the shadows, so we will leave him nameless. While he languishes off the coast of Monte Carlo, hiding from vengeful ex-wives, we can put one of his assets to some good use. Tasty. fruity. Lovely. I'm all about keeping these builds as close to original and faithful to the period as possible, but I draw the line at the original handlebar grips. These have got decades of sweat and grime in them and it's just a bit icky. Plus, these foam grips are still available on the market today for about 7 or 8 quid, so I'm going to replace them like for like with new. Into the bin. I'm still traumatised from the seized bottom bracket on that rally record I had a recent nightmare with. So this is a job I'm not looking forward to. Let's see how far we get. Oh, like silk. Bearing still looking pretty decent. Now let's see what that left-hand cup's saying. Finally get to use my M12 bolt trick that I never got round to in the last video. Let's hope this time round I don't have to incorporate it with violence. That fastens the tool nice and snug. Let's see how much force is required. Uh-oh. Oh, we might be in for a long night. Here we go again. Well, it's been a long night and I'm going to leave that bottom bracket cup for another night. If you saw my last video, you'll know there's always a way, but my patience is thin. Apart from that though, testament to the quality of this bike. 1, it came apart really easily, and 2, very little of it has any actual rust. There's just a few bolt heads in here. Regular viewers will know how much I love the satisfying job of soaking rusty bits overnight in vinegar. Experts tell us that white wine vinegar is best, so tonight I'm using an 1811 Chateau d'Yquem. Let's give it a soak and see how things come up shiny in the morning. Apart from that bottom bracket, which we can fix, there's only one other headache that has emerged in the inspection and strip down, and it's this right-hand Mountain LX shifter. Now, it's supposed to index around this central spindle, i.e. the bit with the writing on it is supposed to stay still, but unfortunately the whole thing moves. The reason being that the 4 pins that hold that central spindle in place have sheared, meaning that the thing is moving freely. Now, I might be able to bodge it with a bit of drilling, we'll see. If not, hopefully these things are freely available on eBay. Let's have a look. The hours of wheel scrubbing have revealed even more plentiful treasures, not least this delightful 7-speed cassette, which is absolutely immaculate underneath the cobwebs. So all we need to do now is whip it off and get rid of this vile dork disc, and then this wheel's going to be great. Quick word on tyres. The ones it has on it are staying. They're both absolutely sound. First of all, of course, a bike from 1990, in my opinion, should always have skin walls, which these do. The Cheng Shin at the back and the actual original Ritchie Megabite here on the front they're pretty old. They certainly aren't going to be functionally as good as modern tyres, but they're not unsafe. They're showing their age with a bit of discoloration, but they're structurally sound and they've got a bit of tread left. And most importantly, they look the part. Right, it's time to talk about this shifter. This apparently was a very common, if not universal, fatal flaw with the Mountain LX shifters. The flaw being that the 4 pins on the bottom of the spindle that go in these 4 holes to stop the centre from rotating shear off. You can see I've marked in red where these ones have snapped. Now, every single Mountain LX shifter that I know of in existence, either in my friends' parts bins or on the internet, has failed at exactly the same point, meaning that these things were a catastrophically bad design. Interestingly, my 35-year-old plastic X-Age trail shifters are still clicking perfectly, so who's laughing now, Andy? Anyway, I'm not a man to underestimate my own genius. I'm not giving up. I think this is fixable. First of all, if this spindle is made out of such a poor quality monkey metal that the pins snap off in the first place, that means it can be drilled. So with a very precise drill bit, I'm going to drill out these bits where it's snapped. I'm going to use a cable cutter to snip off sections of really good hard steel nail. And I'm just going to sit them in there, like the dowels on your IKEA furniture. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 in the holes, line the thing up, screw it down at the back and see what happens. Wish me luck. Of course, even if I can get 1 or 2 of these to work, it should hold. Well, it's working in principle. The drill bit's bringing away the swarf quite easily, which implies that as long as this metal is harder than this metal, it's gonna work. And I also know from having taken these apart that there's nothing immediately behind this disc here, so I can drill down at least a couple of millimeters without hitting anything. Uh-oh, that one went through. Let's hope it didn't destroy anything in the back. Because this is an experiment, I'm only doing it 0.5 millimeter at a time. Don't want to go any deeper than I absolutely have to. All right, as you can see, I have got 4 half decent, probably at least 1 millimeter deep holes drilled. This one went through, but I don't think it's damaged anything behind it. I guess we'll find out. Here's where precision is required. The depth of these holes is only about 1 millimeter, and the depth of these holes possibly even less. So snipping this into sections is going to require some patience. Just going to have to experiment. There's one. A partial success. I was hoping that at least 2 of these holes would be usable, but I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to try it with 1 for the time being. I've managed to get this one in, cut to length. Let's see if it works. I've only gone and done it. Who's the daddy? Let's just hope that replacing 4 pins of soft brittle metal with 1 of significantly harder metal will hold. But functionally, that's good as new. This is a grimy job and it's going to take some hours. First I need to clean the thing with some car shampoo, then get in and degrease it. Cleaning, by the way, the bottom bracket cup in situ this time. I'm not going there again. Then rust treatment, then some sticky stuff removal to get all the adhesives off. Then some T-cut to deal with any scratches, and finally a layer of top wax to bring out the shine. Personally, I'd say this early 90s style of Marin is my favourite era of all from the brand. The sort of
grey mainframe with the pops of neon and then the really bright neon front end started in 1990 and then culminated in what became Zolatone, which is actually not like this. It's a matte finish, almost like a stovepipe darker grey. Those were really cool. Sadly, they were only on the higher end bikes in 1990 and across the range in 91. This isn't that. This is going to be polished up to a gloss finish, but still the grey with a pop of neon, I think, just looks unmistakable.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. The original colours and graphics with decades of patina and battle scarring always beats a respray. This looks absolutely stunning. Nice little demo of the autosol and Dremel technique. Here's the before, dull, rusty bits, and here's the after, crispy. This is a job I hate because it's high stakes. You have to prise open these old-fashioned stem clamps so that you can get the bar in without gouging it. Say a prayer for the paint. Oh, it's in. Lovely. They're actually a decent width, these handlebars, which is great news. They clearly predate just the ridiculous fad of the early 90s when we were all sawing our handlebars down to ridiculous narrowness so that the lever hoods were almost touching, because we'd obviously seen articles in mountain bike magazines about New York City couriers weaving in and out of traffic. And of course, that made the handling of these bikes almost impossible, but we did think we looked cool. Anyway, this is correct, and I'm keeping it that way. Finally, the sun has set on my latest masterpiece. This is the point at which I urge you to like, comment and subscribe. Get at me in the comments, of course, about what you'd like to see next, what you might donate next, and most importantly, to seek out the Manchester charity bike shop and buy this Palisades for a huge sum of money for cyclists fighting cancer. Of course, this isn't the first 1990 Marin that's been on this channel. Subscribers may remember that one of my cartel rocked up in North Yorkshire a couple of years back with the ultra-rare Team Titanium, which was the completely unobtainable top of the range from this 1990 model year. But the fact is that any pot-bellied bon viveur with a big bag of cash can amass a collection of superbikes. I think this is more special than those bikes for reasons of nostalgia. The titanium stuff meant nothing to us as kids, it was just pictures in magazines. Whereas bikes like this played a real meaningful part in so many of our childhoods. And for that reason, this is a bike that I'm particularly emotional to say goodbye to.